Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who's joined us here on the program this evening. Richard, welcome to Emergency Management Associates, brother. Appreciate you being here as well. I also want to thank all of those fathers who were with their families yesterday, or the absentee fathers that couldn't be there because of one reason or another, including their service in the military. God bless you all, fathers. You guys have our greatest respect and our admiration. Thank you all for what you do for our world, for our countries, and for our cities. God bless all of our fathers. Thank you very much for everything you guys do. Can I get a 5x5 to make sure we're on the air and our audio and video are fine? Just want to get a 5x5. Hurricane Heather is here. Thank you so much. Demon Catman is here. God bless you guys. Richard Smith, like I said, is here. Thank you guys. We appreciate everything that you do to help us. Rabbit Hole is here. Yes, we are live. Yay, Sleeping Volcanoes here. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you so much. Sleeping Volcanoes is 5x5 as well, too. That's great. Guys, I'm going to begin this program with earthquakes. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about this program, and first thing we're going to talk about is fires, or our fires. Fires all around the western United States. I want to talk about this because lives are in peril. Lives are in peril, and we need to talk about this and make sure everybody is aware of what's going on. We've had fires for the past, I want to say, 2 weeks now. Fires all over the place, all over the western United States during the past 2 weeks. Now, folks, this does not mean that we're safe. This does not mean anyone is safe, okay? I want to get this word out because of everything that's going on, okay? It's necessary. One of the things I want to talk about are the fires. There have been a lot of fires going on. Now, I want to show you this picture, if I can bring it up here, if it will let me. Look at this, guys. This is up by Pyramid Lake. This picture here is up at Pyramid Lake. Firefighters are extinguishing a fire there. Okay? Pyramid Lake is up to the north of Nevada in Northern California. I'll show you where this is in just a second. But I definitely wanted to show you what is going on. This is typical of what we've seen. Okay? I want to make that very clear as well. This is very much typical of what we're seeing literally all over the western United States. I want to go over to the map. Okay? We'll talk about earthquakes in just a few minutes. That's Southern California. Let's go up here to Northern California. Pyramid Lake right here. This is Pyramid Lake. Just south and west of Pyramid Lake, we have a fire here. It's very serious. It's occupied a lot of land. It's burned out a lot of land here. Now, I'm also going to show you fires down around east of San Francisco Bay, Gorman region, Gorman, California. This area is also on fire. This area is very much on fire. Let's go north of there. I want to go up here to Sonoma County. Right here. See this area right here, guys? This is typically Sonoma County. This is the geysers facility. This is a geothermal facility where men have drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano right here. This is called Clear Lake. This is a volcano, Clear Lake volcano. Men have drilled into the upper magma chambers of that volcano to obtain steam to power turbines over here in the geysers facility to generate electricity for Pacific Gas and Electric, Rocky Mountain Power, and other energy conglomerates in the West. Just east of here is where we've seen a lot of fires. We're going to be talking about Sonoma County, California. A lot of fires, okay? I want to also talk about Los Angeles County, east of Los Angeles. Let's pull this in. This area right here. Okay, we're going to go out to the east side of Los Angeles. We're also going to go over to Ventura County. Ventura County, guys. Over here east of Los Angeles, over in Lancaster, we have a fire that's been going. I'm going to talk about this area as well. Ventura, California. Right about right here. Ventura County, California. In the hills of Ventura County right here, we have a lot of fire going on. So I'm going to talk about this as well. Folks, I want everybody to realize what we're talking about here. This is very serious, okay? It's very serious. Now, what is going on? Some of you know what's going on. Hurricane Heather on our Weather Space Fire Chat has been covering these fires quite well. Very well, matter of fact. What I want to start with tonight are wildfires all over California. Thousands of people across California remain under evacuation orders today as authorities have battled wildfires that erupted during the weekend. These fires have torched thousands of acres, while weather officials warned of more strong wind and dry conditions. The so-called Post Fire broke out Saturday afternoon along Interstate 5 in Gorman, California, a community about 60 miles northwest of Los Angeles. According to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, called CAL FIRE, this fire, fueled by powerful wind gusts, the blaze had burned the blaze has now burned over 15,610 acres. 15,610 acres of dry mountainous land by this afternoon. 8% of the fire has been contained. Only 8% of the fire. Richard Smith, yes, I'm giving you your... Ron, do you get my hammer? Yes, I've got your hammer, but I'm going to go one better than that. I'm going to give you a wrench. Richard Smith is our newest moderator, guys. Richard, watch how the other people handle these trolls, and I will also call you either later tonight or tomorrow and we can talk about it. Okay? Congratulations, Richard. Yes, I know you met Rich. Not a problem. Richard Smith is a dear friend of ours. He's been giving us a lot of great information about earthquakes literally around the globe, but I wanted to make him a moderator on this channel. Thank you, Richard. God bless you, brother. I appreciate you so much. Anyway, getting back to this fire that's over in Gorman. Again, it is 60 miles northwest of Los Angeles. Fueled by very powerful wind gusts, the blaze has burned 15,610 dry mountainous land acres this afternoon. It's only 8% contained. it's 8% contained. Now, it's not over. More than 1,200 people fled from Hungry Valley Park, a popular destination for off-roaders and bikers known for its scenic mountain trails. To the south, authorities closed Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake. By the way, Pyramid Lake is also a volcano. Pyramid Lake is a volcano. It's a reservoir popular for weekend boating about 25 miles northwest of the city of Santa Clarita. Okay, I'm sorry, I showed you Pyramid Lake up in Northern California. There's another Pyramid Lake over by Santa Clarita, northwest Los Angeles. A several mile stretch south of Pyramid Lake there was placed under an evacuation warning. Firefighters battled the blaze as it approached Pyramid Lake overnight, but they were hampered by limited visibility as they tried to establish a perimeter on the fire's east side. One commercial structure has been destroyed by the flames. The cause of the fire is unknown. The National Weather Service issued what they call a red flag warning for the I-5 corridor, the Interstate 5 corridor. What the red flag warning basically means when they issue red flag warnings, it is because there is fire potential and wind and the ability for a fire to start. All those things, hot, humid, dry, or not humid, dry, hot air is ripe for fires. Hot, dry air, lack of humidity is what draws fires out. Eventually, Mike just gave us another $4 super chat. Thank you very much, Mike. God bless you for that. We definitely appreciate it so much. Keep this program on the air. Now, the red flag warnings means there's dry air, hot air, and it's ripe for fires. Now, what some people do when there's a red flag warning issued, they purposely go out and start fires. I'm not saying that any of these fires have been arson. I don't know that. Nobody knows that. All of these fires are under investigation as we speak. But it is right. When I was a police officer, I was asked to go with my partner, and we patrolled the mountainous regions of San Diego County. We patrolled up and down the highways looking for people that were going to start fires, because that happens. This happens when there's hot, dry air and the ability for fires to start. People start fires. They want to see them spread. The National Weather Service issued this red flag warning to keep people from doing that and to warn people to tell us what's going on. So we were out during red flag season, and that is happening again northwest of Los Angeles County. The forecasters have issued a red flag warning of high temperatures, low humidity, and wind gusts of 30 to 50 miles per hour through at least this afternoon and into tomorrow. Tomorrow they could see strong northerly winds. These conditions will be favorable for rapid growth and spread of wildfires, including the ongoing post-fire complex. Mika Olson, who's 20, who lives in Cascadia, a suburban outpost northwest of Santa Clarita, said smoke and embers have been blown into town since Saturday evening. This is typical what happens during fire season. The smoke and embers from the fire are driven by the high winds into other communities. These smoke and embers are live. The embers are blowing fire, basically. The embers are pieces of wood and dry material that have caught on fire, that are picked up off the ground by the fire wind and driven to other parts, spreading the fire. Okay? Smoke and embers have been blowing ever since Saturday evening. Miss Olson said it's hazy over the mountains. She has never before had to evacuate because of a wildfire and hoped that the blaze would be extinguished before it reaches more populated areas like Cascadia. Cascadia has had many wildfires, and I've been there during wildfire season. I also helped establish a radio communications command post at these fires, so I'm very familiar with what happens. I've been there. I've been in Cascadia. I've been all over the San Bernardino Mountains as well. The blaze near Lake Sonoma has prompted evacuation orders. In Northern California, firefighters have battled that fire that has engulfed over 1,100 acres across Sonoma County. The fire began on Sunday, yesterday, just east of Lake Sonoma, about 25 miles northwest of Santa Rosa at approximately 12:30 p.m. yesterday afternoon. Within hours, authorities ordered hundreds of residents to leave their homes and businesses, including several wineries. Several wineries in Sonoma, California. Sonoma, California is known for its wineries, guys. Thousands of others have been placed under evacuation warnings. If you have an evacuation warning, I am now telling you to evacuate. Don't wait for the police and sheriff to come out to your communities and talk over their loudspeakers telling you to evacuate, or going door to door telling you to evacuate. The best thing for you to do if you are under an evacuation warning is to leave before you are forced out. I'm just telling you. The best thing for you to do if you're under an evacuation warning is to leave before you are actually forced out. Don't wait for the police to come in and force you to leave. Leave now. It's better for you to leave now and give yourself an option with roads that are fairly clear to get out when the getting's good. If you wait until everybody else is out there being forced out, you're going to find traffic. And it's highly likely you'll get set up right in the middle of a fire as you're going down the road. That's not a good idea. We saw what has happened over in other fires throughout California in the past. I've watched it, I've seen it. I broadcasted it. As soon as I get this computer up to snuff, I'm going to show you pictures, I'm going to show you a video of what the fires look like. This is important. I wouldn't be talking like this if it wasn't important. It's important for everybody to realize that if you are in a disaster warning, a fire evacuation warning, even if it's not a warning and it's only a watch, get out while the getting is good. Now, why do I say that? If you have the ability and you're only under a fire watch, get your stuff ready to load in the car. Get your go bags. Get your emergency preparedness kits. Get your clothing that you might need. Don't wait until you have a warning and you're being forced out. Don't wait for the warning. When you have a warning, more than likely you're going to forget what's going on. You're going to forget many important things that you're going to need to take. And then you're going to leave and wish you hadn't left so soon, but you're being forced. You wish you had gotten the time to get those things that are important. Line those things up by your car or just barely inside your house, so all you have to do is pick them up and put them in your vehicle and be going down the road. Okay? Make sure you understand what we're talking about. Okay, this is very important. Now, at least one firefighter has been injured in this blaze. It's been dubbed the point fire. It's been dubbed the point fire. About 400 first responders have been sent to the scene. Authorities are using helicopters, bulldozers, water tenders, great big tanker trucks with water in them, and 50 fire engines to battle the blaze. Multiple structures have been damaged and destroyed. Officials have said, without providing actual figures, that more are likely to be lost. Through the night, last night, firefighters used 3 helicopters in their latest attempt to quell the flames amid strong winds and low humidity. As of this afternoon, the point fire was 20% contained. The point fire was 20% contained. As I said a few minutes ago, the cause of these fires are under investigation. Nearby areas, including North Bay and Contra Costa County, have been issued spare the air advisories, warning that the air you breathe may be unhealthy for sensitive groups. Warning that the air might be unhealthy for sensitive groups. If you are in this area and you feel like you probably should leave because you're having a hard time breathing, do so before it becomes mandatory. Get out of there. Get out of there. It's not worth their life. Okay? Authorities have temporarily banned wood burning and urged residents to avoid smoke exposure. Please protect your health. Stay indoors according to the advisory. Keep your windows closed. Keep your doors closed as much as possible. Don't go outside. This includes humans and your pets. Don't risk their health, guys. Please don't risk your health. Okay? Now, while Sonoma County is still under a red flag alert, a vast swath of the Sacramento County area, the Sacramento Valley, the Central California area, is facing strong winds and dry conditions that will persist into tomorrow. The Weather Service has said and urging residents to gather plans in case a fire breaks out in their area. Gather plans. Write your emergency preparedness plan, guys. Make sure you have an emergency preparedness plan. We've been talking about this for a very long time. Make sure you have a preparedness plan. Preparedness plans are not just for earthquakes. They're for every kind of disaster that you can think of. I've been writing emergency preparedness plans for years. I've probably written, I want to say, 150, 200 emergency preparedness plans over the past, say, 20, 25 years. This is necessary, guys. This is necessary. Okay? Rabbit Hole News is saying he remembers me because I was the guy that issued the emergency earthquake warning several years ago. And no, I did not blame it on Mary Greeley. I do not blame anything on Mary Greeley. If I issue an earthquake warning, it's because it is a dangerous situation. Please don't mistake Mary and me. Mary talks a lot about earthquakes around Yellowstone, and as of the past year or so, she's been talking about earthquakes everywhere else. Folks, I don't blame anything on Mary Greeley. Mary Greeley and I are friends. Yes, there are some things I don't agree with her on, and that's fine. Friends sometimes don't agree with each other. But overall, Mary Greeley is a friend of mine. She has helped me a great deal over the years, and I have also helped her. I want to make that point perfectly clear. Okay? Now, folks, when you're ready to evacuate, make sure you don't forget your long sleeves. Make sure you don't forget a hat. Make sure you don't forget a face covering to protect your nose and mouth from inhaling hot gases and smoke. You don't want to do that. Also, make sure you have thick leather gloves. Thick leather gloves to protect your hands in case you have to pick something up that might hurt you. Be very careful, guys. Be very careful. Thank you, Rabbit Hole News. Wear your gloves, please. Now, While Sonoma County is now under a red flag alert, a vast swath of Sacramento County is, and Sacramento County, the Sacramento Valley, is facing strong winds and dry conditions, meaning that they have red flag warnings in place. These red flag warnings in the Sacramento Valley area will persist into at least tomorrow. Again, the Weather Service is urging residents to make a plan in case a fire breaks out in your area. The most active time wildfires in California is generally between June and November, so we are in fire season. The threat of catastrophic wildfires isn't going to diminish until we actually start getting wetting rain and cooler conditions in the late fall and early winter. Okay, that's typically what happens. Now, the Point Fire up in the Bay Area has consumed 1,000 acres and multiple buildings. The North Bay Incident Management Team has been activated to the fire and is on scene right now. The North Bay Incident Management Team is on site with the fire. I've been part of the management teams in the past. The crews overnight last night continued to build fire control lines, working under favorable conditions when the winds died out during the night. But as the sun rose, the winds rose up again. 3 helicopter crews continued nighttime doing aerial firefighting operations, supporting the ground crews on the ground. Now, it's not just the firemen with fire engines on the ground. They have hand crews. They have these great surgical strike hand crews that they drop out of a plane. They bail out of a plane, and sometimes a helicopter will land in a certain area and let them out. But these strike teams are on the ground by themselves with only what they have on their back. Shovels and what they have on the back. These men and women do a great job. My hat is off to them. I've only done that job on a hand crew a couple of times. But these hand crews are awesome people. Now, this Point Fire, the wildfire started amid gusty winds and hot temperatures and has now ripped through 1,000 acres in Sonoma County yesterday. As of noon today, the Point Fire has burned 1,190 acres, 1,190 acres, and is 20% contained. Sunday at Stewart's Point, Skaggs Springs Road in Healdsburg. The fire was burning west of Dry Creek Road near the southeast region of Lake Sonoma, northwest of Healdsburg. This is an area that has largely been open ranch land and vineyards. CAL FIRE said structures have been destroyed by the blaze. Investigators are on scene to determine the quantity and type of structures that have been damaged. The cause of the fire, again, is under investigation. An evacuation order is in place for Dry Creek Valley. A map which includes nearby areas under evacuation warnings can be found on the Sonoma County Emergency Response Site. The Sonoma County Emergency Response Site. Write that down, and if you want more information on that evacuation warning and the areas that are open to house residents or animals that are under the evacuation warning. The Healdsburg Unified School District has canceled all summer school classes today. Again, the Healdsburg Unified School District has canceled all summer school classes today. You need to check the Healdsburg Unified School District website tonight into tomorrow to see if classes will be held tomorrow. This area is under evacuation warnings right now. This area around Healdsburg is under evacuation orders right now. There are 50 engine crews and 12 hand crews on site. Unified Command with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office, cooperating agencies, the Northern Sonoma County Fire District, Sonoma County Fire District, Cloverdale Fire Protection District, Santa Rosa Fire Department, Healdsburg Fire Department, Grayton Fire Department, Gold Ridge Fire Protection District, Sonoma Valley Fire Protection District, Rancho Adobe Fire District, Sebastopol Fire Department, Shell Vista Fire Protection District, Monte Rio Fire Protection District, Napa County Fire Department, Cascadia Fire Department, and Roanoke Park Fire Department, Petaluma Fire Department, Dry Creek Rancheria Fire Department, Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management, of which I was part of for a while, the Army Corps of Engineers, the California Highway Patrol, and Sonoma County Property Infrastructure. All those agencies are on site and are part of the Unified Command. Unified Command are agencies that come together during an emergency to provide help for each other. Those are the Unified Command that we established anywhere, depending on the emergency. If we establish Unified Command, all that means are agencies in that area that have come together to support the Unified District into protecting the area. That's all that means. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about the fires? Does anybody have questions about these fires? Monier's Wrath is saying, I take it the forest fires are probably related to the fissures that open up. No, that's not the case. Nobody understands right now why the fires started. It doesn't have anything to do with fissures that opened up because of magma underneath. It has nothing to do with that. Right now, the fires are under investigation. Okay? Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with magma opening up fissures. What happens? Okay, let's talk about this. I want to make sure everybody understands what happens when magma starts a fire from beneath the ground. Okay? I want to talk about this real quick. That's important. Okay? I appreciate Munir's Wrath for talking about it. What happens? Magma is coming in off the Pacific Plate. Not from the ocean, but underneath the plate, underneath the ocean. Magma is coming in under the ground here. The magma comes in under the ground that we walk on, and it heats up the ground. It has nothing to do with the magma coming up above the ground. Magma coming up above the ground is lava. That would signal volcanic eruption. That's not what has happened. The magma is underneath the ground and it heats up the ground. The ground heat starts a fire because of dry brush above the ground. Okay? The magma from underneath heats up the ground. The heated ground heats up the brush and stuff on the surface, and it starts a fire. No one knows right now how these fires are started. No one knows at all. As far as I know right now, it has nothing to do with magma. And I have been doing a little bit of research. I don't believe this has any of these fires have anything to do with magma beneath the surface. Okay? Hey Clay, I appreciate your help. Okay? Clay is worried that I have oxygen. I was a federal police officer. Okay? I was a federal police officer, and I was a federal officer that was an instructor. I was a police instructor. During the time that I was an instructor, I was exposed to people that struck my body with police batons and other kinds of weapons. I was a full weapons instructor. It's not just police officers that were training with me. I also was struck by bad guys out on the street. When I was an instructor, I wore what they call a red man suit, a great big huge rubber suit to help protect me. But even though it was trying to protect me, I still got struck by batons, both blows. For example, this being a baton, I was struck in the abdomen like this. That's normally what we would do to help subdue subjects. We would jab them in the abdomen to knock the air out of their system so we could try to control them. Okay? No one was ever struck by a baton like this. No, you're not supposed to, no police officer is ever supposed to strike anybody in the chest or abdomen. You can jab them in the abdomen like this, but that's all. You can strike them in the meaty part of their body. The meaty part of their body, their arms and legs. You never strike anybody in the head. You never strike anybody in the chest. You never strike anybody in the back. You don't do that. Okay? Just some dudes saying, so it's always a low blow for training. What you take in the gut. Yeah, pretty much. You do jabs. You do jabs. Okay? Try to knock the air out of a person's system so you can take them into custody. The only time you strike anybody is in the meaty part of their arms or their legs. That's all. You never try to stop anybody by breaking their arms. Never. Okay? But I got hurt being an instructor and an officer on the street. That's why I have oxygen. My right, oh gosh, I was going to tell you. My right part of my body, which forces air in and out of your lungs, that part of my body has been paralyzed for about 8 years, probably 9 years, since 2017. Okay? 7, 8 years. Okay? That's what happens when you're a police instructor. 1 year's wrath also, Sheriff, for like 15 years. Well, thank you for your service, my friend. Diaphragm, yes, Demon Catman, my diaphragm. My right diaphragm has been paralyzed since 2017. Unreal. I taught police officers from almost any department in Southern California that you can ever think of. I taught police officers out on the street. I was actually a field training officer teaching new trainees what they need to do on the street. So that's why I have oxygen now. And I don't need it all the time. I could probably just take this off for the rest of the broadcast. I've done that before. Let's see what I can do to get by. If I need to have oxygen, I'll put it back on. I had it on because I've been running around most of the day and I have to have my oxygen when I'm running all over the place. But since I'm sitting, I might be able to get by without it. One year's Rat says that's what his grandfather did before he became a hunting safety instructor. I did that as well. He was a police instructor. That's what I've done. That's what I've done. I love teaching people. I also taught civilians how to shoot. I was a police weapons instructor, but I also taught civilians how to shoot. Okay? Any more questions real quick before we talk about earthquakes? We have had some earthquakes around the globe. Now, I want to go back to yesterday. Because down in the South Pacific, we had a 6.2 earthquake. USGS yesterday downgraded it to a 5.9. What a bunch of crap. Okay? The 6.2 earthquake was down here, okay, on the Antarctic ridge. It was downgraded to a 5.9. We also had another earthquake down here. This was south of New Zealand, near what they call Bellany Island. Okay, right down here in the South Pacific. There's also an earthquake here. As I have stated before, earthquakes that happen here that are deep earthquakes. Those deep earthquakes can propagate larger, shallower quakes. That propagation can go south, it can go east, over here to Chile and Argentina area, or it could go west over here. It could go west over here into Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, and Indonesia. We've seen that happen. We've also seen some earthquakes come over here to Australia. Large, I can't even say large. Most of the time they are moderate earthquakes, 4.0 to 4.9. Yes, last week we had some 4.2s, 4.7s, and 4.8 earthquakes. They were deep earthquakes, 560, 580 kilometers deep. Those are deep earthquakes. Those deep earthquakes propagated these larger, shallower quakes that we saw yesterday during the day. Large, shallow earthquakes down here in the Bellany Islands, south of New Zealand, and the 6.2, they downgraded to 5.9 over here on the South Antarctic Ridge in the Pacific Ocean. We also had some other earthquakes. For example, this one here. Okay, that's over near Niafu, Tonga again. Near Niafu, Tonga. That earthquake is a 5.5 earthquake. 76 kilometers east-southeast of Niafu, Tonga. This was 10 kilometers deep, a very shallow earthquake. We have this earthquake here, okay? The earthquake in Tonga was a very strong earthquake. Well, I can't say that. It was a very large earthquake. Anything 5.5 to 5.9 are considered to be very large earthquakes. And if they're near land, they can be very destructive. This earthquake over in Tonga today was a very large earthquake. However, it's also a shallow earthquake. It also wasn't anywhere near land. 76 kilometers east-southeast of Niafu, Tonga, meaning the ocean waters of the Pacific absorbed the shock waves from this quake. Now let's go over here to the west. Okay, I want to talk about this quake here. Folks, this quake, excuse me, this earthquake is a 5.6. It's in the Solomon Islands, 93 kilometers south-southeast of Lata, Solomon Islands. Again, a very large 5.6 earthquake. Again, 48.7 kilometers deep. Fairly shallow earthquake. Fairly shallow earthquake. We continue to go west over here into Papua New Guinea. This earthquake is also 5.3. A large 5.3 earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. Again, a very shallow earthquake. Also over here in Papua New Guinea, we have another one. This is a 5.2. A large 5.2 earthquake. This is 103 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. These earthquakes, I want to show you this. Waiting for the map to resolve here. This earthquake was out in the ocean. This is the 5.3, 229 kilometers southeast of Lorengau, Papua New Guinea, in the ocean. The other earthquake here was on land. On land near villages here. came onto Papua New Guinea. This is a 5.2 large earthquake. Folks, look where it's at. Look where it's at. This area is farmland here. This area is farmland. There are people living here. These people don't have much money. They don't have great earthquake standards where when one of these earthquakes hits, that they're going to be fine. Most of the time they're living in mud shacks, cardboard and wood shacks, with nothing more than a plastic tarp to protect them and their families. This earthquake may have damaged those homes. We've seen this happen a lot in the past. We also have other villagers over here near the ocean here. Let's zoom in here so I can show you this. Look at this. There are villages here. This is a good sized city. I don't know what the name of the city, but this is still a very good sized city. Okay? They felt this quake. They felt this quake, and they may have suffered damage to their homes and businesses. 5.0 to 5.9 earthquakes can cause extensive damage. Now, the agency, the U.S. Geological Service, has now called these earthquakes moderate earthquakes. There's nothing moderate about a 5.2 or 5.0 to 5.9 earthquake. There's nothing moderate about that at all. These are very dangerous earthquakes, especially in these areas. They can do a great deal of damage and they can kill people. Now, this earthquake happened at 4:49 p.m. Eastern Time today in the United States. It was tomorrow, Tuesday, over here in Papua New Guinea. A 5.2 large earthquake doing damage over here. Okay, I want to make sure everybody is aware that these earthquakes are dangerous earthquakes. They're dangerous earthquakes. When they're out to sea, they don't do any damage, and the ocean waters absorb the shock waves of the quake. Another earthquake over here to the northwest. This is a moderate earthquake here. This is a 4.2 earthquake here. 241 kilometers west of Abapura, Indonesia. Abapura, Indonesia has seen a lot of earthquakes, including very strong 6.0 and major 7.0 earthquakes here in Abapura, Indonesia in the past. This is a low-powered moderate earthquake. Okay? This happened at 13:15 hours today, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. Okay? A moderate earthquake. Down here, in this area here, this is a Banda Sea, South Indonesia, southeastern Indonesia. This earthquake was in the Banda Sea here. The ocean waters absorbed the shockwave of this quake. The nearest island was over here to the northwest. It didn't get damaged. I don't think anybody even felt this quake because, one, it's a moderate earthquake, but two, it's far enough away from land that nobody's going to feel it. But again, look where this earthquake was located. Literally right on top of an earthquake fault here. Right on top of an earthquake fault. And not to be outdone, let's back out of this a little bit. Look at this earthquake fault. All these earthquake faults, guys, are part of tectonic plates. Part of tectonic plates. There are 7 different tectonic plates throughout this region. 7 different tectonic plates throughout this region. That is why this region has a lot of earthquakes. One plate subducting under the other. one earthquake fault subducting under the other. This earthquake in the red just happened. This is near Timor-Leste, Indonesia. Let me zoom in here. This is a 4.3 earthquake. A 4.3 earthquake. This is out in the ocean here, away from any of the islands here in Timor, Indonesia. A 4.3 moderate earthquake happening in the ocean. The seismic waves were absorbed by the water here. Again, look at this earthquake here, right next to this earthquake fault. That's why these earthquakes happen. This is exactly why these earthquakes happen. Now, the other earthquake that happened here, and again, this is only the USGS reporting this, the only other earthquake that happened today, according to the USPS, is this 4.3 down here in the southern Indian Ocean. Look where it's at. It's on that Antarctic fault here. It's on this Antarctic fault that stretches from one end of the earth to the other. Okay? It's in the southern hemisphere here. It comes up here into this, near the center of the Indian Ocean, then it comes back down here, south of Australia, south of New Zealand, and it continues over here until it gets up here. This is the Antarctic Ridge. Okay? At this point in time, this is the West Chile Ridge here. The Western Chile Ridge here. It comes over here to Chile and goes down here, follows the Cape down here, south of South America here, follows this Cape and continues south and east over here into the Atlantic Ocean. Continues southeast into the Atlantic Ocean. This is where the South Sandwich Islands are. The South Sandwich Islands. We've had quite a few large earthquakes and even very strong 6.0s here in the South Sandwich Islands. Why am I talking about the South Sandwich Islands? Folks, when we have earthquakes here, these earthquakes spread over here and go up the Mid-Atlantic Fault. They go northbound up the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Last week we had a 6.0 in the South Mid-Atlantic area here. Right smack dab on the South Mid-Atlantic Fault here. We have had seismic energy travel through this area between South America and Africa, all the way up here into the North Atlantic here. And that energy has traveled this entire area. We've had large 5.0 earthquakes as that energy has traveled through the Mid-Atlantic. Why else am I talking about this? Because like I've said before, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is expanding. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is expanding. Now I'm going to go over here to show you exactly what we're talking about. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is expanding. It's expanding like this. The Atlantic plate is expanding. It's pushing Europe and Scandinavia in an eastward direction. It's pushing Greenland and the United States and Mexico in a southwesterly direction like this. Okay? I want to make it clear that everybody understands what's going on. Okay? This is happening. This is happening. And it's going to continue to happen. Okay? Every one of the plates around the world are moving. I want to make that clear. There is not one plate that is not moving. Now, let's go back here to the map. Let's go back here to the map. Yes, there are earthquakes over here in South America. They're showing 2 earthquakes in South America. There are 28 earthquakes here in South America. Them showing only 2 earthquakes is a travesty. They are lying through their teeth. The USBS is lying through their teeth. Now I moved the map too far to the northwest. Okay? I moved it all the way up into Alaska. I didn't mean to do that. This is the USGS map. It's not showing any earthquakes here in Canada today. Sometimes it does. But today they're not showing any earthquakes here in northern Canada. But they are showing 1 earthquake here. This is in New Jersey again. This is in New Jersey. Over a month ago, we had an earthquake in this area. This is Califon, New Jersey. Califon, New Jersey. USBS is calling this a 1.9 tremor. A 1.9 tremor here in Califon, New Jersey. A month and a half ago, USBS said we had a 4.5 in the same area. As it turns out, it was not a 4.5. I did the research. It was very much larger than that. It was a 5.9 earthquake, and it caused damage. 4.5 earthquakes only cause moderate damage. This was very much a stronger quake. This was very much a stronger quake. It was not a 4.5 like they said. It caused a lot of damage. Fortunately, there were no injuries or deaths. 5.9 are very large earthquakes. They can cause injuries and fatalities. Today, we have a 1.9, 2.0 earthquake here in New Jersey. Okay? This continues to happen. These earthquakes here in New Jersey are aftershocks of a much larger earthquake. Again, a 5.9 earthquake hit here just over a month ago. We are still seeing the earth shake as a result of that 5.9. We would not normally have aftershocks from a 4.5 earthquake. They rarely happen like that. They rarely ever happen like that. Okay? I want to make that clear. We rarely ever have moderate earthquakes that cause damage. Well, they cause moderate damage most of the time, but they do not cause major damage, injuries, or death. Very rarely do we have any injuries from 4.5 earthquakes. Okay? But yesterday, and I want to make this also perfectly clear. Yesterday, down here in Georgia, down over here in Georgia, we had a 2.7 earthquake. This 2.7 earthquake happened here in Georgia. It was in the hillside or in the mountains here in southern Georgia along the Eastern Continental Divide. This is the Eastern Continental Divide. This is where the earthquake hit. The Eastern Continental Divide. Why did it hit? Again, out here in the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic plate is pushing on the North American plate and pushing it in a south-southwesterly direction. I can show you seismograms, graphs showing you the earthquakes that are hitting up and down the East Coast. Yes, there are earthquakes hitting up and down the East Coast every day. USGS not talking about it. They don't talk about it almost ever. They do post some earthquakes, but not all of them. We have actually talked about earthquakes that have happened all up and down the coast when USGS doesn't even show what's going on. Something else you need to know. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is pushing on the North American continent, like I said. It's putting pressure over here on the New Madrid Fault here. Yes, you see 2 earthquakes here in the center of the New Madrid Fault. This is a 2.2 earthquake here in Marston, Missouri. A 2.2 minor earthquake here in Marston, Missouri. One other earthquake here. This is near Charleston, Missouri. A 2.3 earthquake here. Now, we've talked about earthquakes here on the New Madrid Fault. The North American plate is being pushed by the Mid-Atlantic plate here. Mid-Atlantic plate is expanding, right? Putting pressure here on the East Coast. That pressure is also putting pressure over here on the New Madrid Fault. We are also seeing pressure from the West Coast. As you can see, we have a lot of earthquakes here on the West Coast. That energy here is coming from the Pacific Plate. The Pacific Plate is subducting underneath the North American Plate. Subduction. That pressure is making earthquakes literally appear all across the North American Plate, causing earthquakes to appear all across the North American Plate. That energy from all those earthquakes hitting here and the Pacific Plate subducting underneath the North American Plate is putting added pressure over here on the New Madrid Fault. The New Madrid Fault opened up in December 1811 into January 1812. Scientists thought that the New Madrid Fault was a 7.1 earthquake. They're now saying that the New Madrid Fault earthquake in 1811, 1812 was an 8.0, maybe larger. An 8.0 or larger earthquake. Over a year or so ago, all we had here were minor tremors. 1.0, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 1.9 tremors on the New Madrid Fault. At that time, we had people question me, what's going on in the New Madrid Fault? I told them what was happening. Okay? I told them there were only minor tremors hitting. And when and if the seismic energy was going to increase, I would tell them about it. And now I am. As of about a year ago, we started seeing 2.0, 3.0, 3.5, even 4.0 moderate quakes here on the New Madrid Fault. Just this past week, I showed you earthquakes happening here on the New Madrid Fault. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes all up and down the fault. I showed you earthquakes all the way up here to the Great Lakes. Yes, folks, the New Madrid Fault causes earthquakes up here in Illinois, Indiana, and even over here into Ohio. When the earthquakes hit, it causes tremors all the way over here to the northwest as well. It causes earthquakes here in the center part of the country. We see them in Nebraska and Oklahoma as well. Earthquakes caused by the New Madrid Fault. I've shown you those earthquakes. They continue to happen today. Those earthquakes continue to happen today. They have not stopped. They have not stopped at all. Those earthquakes continue. Those earthquakes continue here. Sage Pup is here. Sage Pup, you're welcome to be here. We're so excited that you're here with us tonight. Thank you, Sage Pup. We love you, brother. Sage Pup has been a dear friend of mine. He lives over near Santa Barbara. He may live in Santa Barbara still. we used to talk quite frequently, but as of the last, I want to say, the last few months, we haven't talked that often. But Sage Pup, I'm glad to see you here. So glad to see you. Does anybody have any questions so far about what we've talked about tonight? I want to make sure we're answering everybody's questions. Happy Life is here. Giga Chat is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We appreciate you being here. Surgery is here. Surgery is one of my dearest friends. He's from over in northern Utah, north of Salt Lake City. He's one of my dearest friends, and I appreciate him being here as well. KDO DXN is here. Glad to see you here as well, too. This is exciting. We have a lot of great people here in the chat. Over 93 people are watching this program right now. We have 52 thumbs up. Folks, please watch a thumbs up. If you appreciate what we're talking about, please give us a thumbs up. One of the things that YouTube tries to do is they try to tell us that the thumbs up give them part of an analytical factor of what's going on. An analytical factor that registers with YouTube, letting YouTube to know whether they will show this program to anybody. Presently, YouTube does not show this program to everybody here on YouTube like they used to. We have over 5,000 subscribers now. Over 5,000 subscribers, and still YouTube does not show this program to everybody on YouTube. It's sad. Thumbs up is a way that YouTube uses to address the idea whether they're going to allow people to see this program or not. Okay? Our program is being suppressed. YouTube doesn't like us, and I really don't give a flying rat's butt about it. But I do care that people see this program. It's not just about my ego. It has nothing to do with my ego. This has everything to do with us saving lives. This has everything to do with us saving lives. That is my primary idea of trying to save lives. That's why we talk about all kinds of things, including rain and wind and fire and tornadoes. We talk about these things every day, literally every day. We're trying to save people's lives. Okay? Now, yes, there are earthquakes over here in the central part of the United States. Up here. This is Oklahoma. A 1.6 tremor up here in Dibble, Oklahoma. This is a 1.8 near Asher, Asher, Oklahoma. 1.8 tremor. North of there, this is Prague, Oklahoma. 1.7 tremor. Prague, Oklahoma's had a lot of earthquakes as of late. One other earthquake that's being registered by USGS is a 1.4 here in Marshall, Oklahoma. Folks, there are 587 drill points. I shouldn't say 587. 587,000 drill points, meaning oil and gas production areas all over Oklahoma. That's why we see earthquakes here in Oklahoma. Let's zoom in on this earthquake here. This is Dibble, Oklahoma. This is the most southwestern part of Oklahoma. Yes, we have earthquakes here as a result of oil and gas fracking operations. Where you see my cursor here is an oil and gas plot here. Oil and gas producing facility right here. Just to the north right here. This is another one here. Up to the north of there, this is another one. If there are any oil and gas producing rigs, pumps and jacks anywhere within 10 miles of any earthquake, the earthquake is automatically an oil and gas fracking earthquake. This is exactly that. This is within the 10-mile range of the oil and gas pumps and jacks here. Okay? We see them all over Oklahoma. Okay, you can see them all over here now. I zoomed out. You can see the oil and gas fracking operations all throughout this area. This is not the only one. Let's go over here to Prague, Oklahoma here. Okay, this is Prague, Oklahoma. Like I said, we've had plenty of earthquakes here. Let's zoom in here. Let's first find out where Prague went. There it is. Let's zoom in here in Prague, Oklahoma. I know for a fact there are oil and gas pumps and jacks throughout this area. Zoom in here some more. Okay, right over here. This is where that earthquake here. It's a 1.7 tremor. Right here. Right here next to the earthquake. Pumps and jacks. Oil and gas fracking operations right here. Right next to the earthquake. This is why we have earthquakes in these areas all over Oklahoma. 587 pumps and jacks throughout Oklahoma. That's why. Okay? Now, down here to the south here. Down here to the southwest. Texas. Good old Texas here. I got a call today from one of my friends here in Texas. Okay? Right here. This is another earthquake here. This is a 1.7 tremor. Stanton, Texas. Stanton, Texas. Oil and gas to the max. Oil and gas fracking operations to the max. Look at all these oil and gas fracking operations. Pumps and jacks throughout this whole area. Pumps and jacks throughout this whole area. Right here, right next to that earthquake, we have an oil and gas plot right here. Just south of there, this is another one. Southeast of here, there's another one. Just northeast of this earthquake, we have another one here. Folks, you can see all the oil and gas fracking operations throughout this area. Within 10 miles of this earthquake, we see tons of pumps and jacks operating here, fracking operations pulling oil out of the ground here in Texas. 1.7 in Stanton, Texas. But that's not the only one, guys. There's more. There's more. I'm going to zoom in here. Southwestern Texas. There's a small swarm of earthquakes here. Oil and gas fracking operations, every one of them. Every one of them. Look at this. This is a 2.4. This is also 2.7. Further here to the west is a 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.6 tremor. This is a 1.5 tremor. This right here is a 2.0. Toya, Texas, guys. Toya, Texas. Plenty of oil and gas pumping operations in this area here. Okay? Just to the north, you see one of the pumps and jacks here. There are pumps and jacks down here to the southeast, another one here, another one over here, and this whole area here are full of pumps and jacks here. Okay? This area is an oil and gas rich area. Throughout this area here, I zoomed out, you can see the other pumps and jacks all over this area. This is why this area has so many earthquakes. Fracking operations. Fracking operations, guys. All throughout Texas here. Now, I don't know how many pumps and jacks are all throughout Texas. I don't think they've ever specified how many oil and gas rigs they have in Texas, but if they have 586 or 87,000 in Oklahoma, you can only imagine how many oil and gas pumping operations they have going in Texas. Texas is the biggest state in the United States. Okay? That's what's happening. Now, like I said, Southern California, we've shown you all these earthquakes. They continue to happen. They absolutely continue to happen. Now, I'm only going to spend a couple minutes here tonight. I'm only going to spend a couple minutes here because I want to talk about the Pacific Northwest. We're not seeing all of the earthquakes here in San Diego or Los Angeles. Either tomorrow or Wednesday, I will show you earthquakes literally all over Southern California. Again, the USGS is not showing much of anything. They just aren't. Down here, this is Rancho San Diego. This is northeast of where I used to live. This is northeast from where I used to live. I used to live down here in Poway, California. Over here is Ramona. This is Rancho San Diego. This is right next to, literally, actually it's right in a housing development right here. These are senior housing areas. Retired people, for the most part. There's golf courses. There's a golf course here, another golf course right in here, and golf courses down here. Rancho San Diego. This is a 1.3 tremor here in San Diego County. Okay? It's almost a small city out there. Going over here into the Imperial Valley. Calipatria. I want to zoom in here. This is Imperial Valley, California. This is a 1.6 tremor here. This is 8 kilometers west-southwest of Calipatria. Calipatria is up here, right in this area. I can pull a seismogram from Calipatria and show you anywhere from 75 to 100 earthquakes here every day. Calipatria, California. This earthquake here is also 2.0 here in Calipatria. 2.0 minor earthquake. But USGS is not showing everything. Just to the southwest of the Salton Sea. This is Westmoreland, California. I can show you 50 to 75 earthquakes here every day. Westmoreland, California. South of there, Imperial, California, the town of Imperial itself. 75 earthquakes every day. Every day. Every day. Now, right here, El Centro, California. I can show you probably 100 earthquakes today in El Centro. We have a friend of ours here in El Centro. His name's Juanito. He's a friend of our programs and a friend of mine. Juanito feels these quakes when they hit. 3.0, 4.0 earthquakes hitting here every day. 10 to 15 small earthquakes here every day. And they are felt. They're felt earthquakes. Over here in Holtville, right here. This is where the Salton Sea Desert Research Station is here in Holtville. I can show you 25 to 50 earthquakes here in Holtville every day. Again, USGS is not showing us everything. Up here on the eastern side of the Salton Sea, there's a place called Bombay Beach. Bombay Beach here used to be a spa. Used to be a spa much like the Blue Lagoon Spa in Iceland. Used to have a spa here. Now it is abandoned. Here at Bombay Beach, we're having 6 to 10, 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here every day. Upwards of 4.0 earthquakes here every day at Bombay Beach. That's a lot of earthquakes here in the Imperial Valley, isn't it? USGS showing us 2 earthquakes. 2 earthquakes. I can guarantee you there's earthquakes over here where you see my cursor. This is Ocotillo Wells. I can show you a seismogram here that would show you 25 earthquakes here every day, at least. USGS not showing us anything here. They just don't. Over here, this is Home Gardens, California, Los Angeles. 1.6 tremor. This earthquake here, Rancho Cucamonga. Rancho Cucamonga, still in the Los Angeles area. This is called San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County. This is a 1.3 tremor here in Rancho Cucamonga. There are earthquakes over this whole area, and USGS not accounting for much of anything. Heaven forbid they tell us what's going on. Rarely do they tell us what's going on. Now, I want to go up here to the Pacific Northwest. I'm going to show you seismograms showing you earthquakes up here. A lot of earthquakes up here. Up here. This is the Puget Sound area near Seattle. Southworth, Washington. A 1.2 tremor here in Southworth, Washington. Going further to the southwest. Shelton, Washington. A 1.9, 2.0 earthquake. When I see anything 0.9, you can guarantee that it was a large earthquake. USGS continues to have a 0.9 society. They reduce earthquakes to the nearest 0.9. This is at least a 2.0 earthquake, almost guaranteed. Right here, this is Mount Rainier. They're not showing anything here. Isn't that just like USGS not being truthful? I'm going to show you several seismograms from Mount Rainier. There are plenty of earthquakes here at Mount Rainier today. Let's go down here to Mount St. Helens. Over here at Mount St. Helens, they're still showing us quite a few earthquakes. Okay? Yes, there's still swarms of earthquakes hitting Mount St. Helens. Let's pull this down here. You see one earthquake down here in the summit area of Mount St. Helens. There's another earthquake here to the north. I'm sorry this map is bouncing too much, bouncing around too much. I'm going to try to zoom in here just a little bit more. This earthquake is just here to the northwest of Mount St. Helens. This is 13 kilometers south of Morganton, Washington. Interesting. Interesting. This is a 0.6 microquake. 0.6 microquake just northwest of Mount St. Helens. This is Spirit Lake. When Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, September 1980, it sent lava rushing over here to Spirit Lake. Lava and ash covering Spirit Lake here. Again, we have one more earthquake here to show you from USGS, but it's not the only earthquake here at Mount St. Helens. They say this is a 0.0 surface quake. A 0.0 surface quake. It is not. This is 8.4 kilometers deep. over 4 miles deep inside the volcano, and they're calling this a 0.0 service quake. It's another lie from USGS. Another lie from USGS. Now, I want to show you real earthquakes. I want to show you what's actually happening in Washington State and in Oregon. I want to show you what's happening. Okay? First off, I'm going to go over to Mount Rainier. I want to show you what's actually going on. The first one I want to show you is Camp Sherman. Camp Sherman is over on the upper side, north side of Mount Rainier. Look at this. This is really going to show you what is happening. Okay? I want to show you this. Unreal. The top of this seismogram starts off with recording information, recording earthquakes and tremors after 5 p.m. yesterday. 1700 hours military time is 5 p.m. yesterday. So we have earthquakes hitting here yesterday morning, or yesterday afternoon, and yesterday evening. Guess what? Those earthquakes are continuing. They have not stopped. Those earthquakes have not stopped. They continued. They are continuing every day. Every minute and every hour of every day. All day long. Lama's Light is here. Welcome, Lama's Light. We appreciate you being here. Lama's Light also lives here in North Carolina. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate all of our family, EMA family, join us here. That means a lot to me. That means an awful lot to me. Just a second, I'm scrolling through here in the chat here. I don't know how my chat came behind here, but I want to make sure that we're catching everybody here. I appreciate all of you here. I really do. It means the world to me. My chat on my monitor got behind here. Don't know why. I'm trying to keep up with it. Betty Zoom is here. Betty, welcome. Appreciate you being here. Elizabeth is here. Ruth St. John, Jean Shannon, thank you for being here. This is awesome. This is awesome with all you guys join us here. That means so much to me. That means we're getting to talk about all these earthquakes and showing you exactly what's going on. We have a lot of people here. Right now it shows us 75 people here in our chat. That's great. Usually when we have these broadcasts, we have 100 plus. That can still happen. I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping it will. Oh, I think I know what happened here. I think I know what happened. Rebecca Griffiths is here. Yay, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. Haven't seen Rebecca here in a long time. That's great you're here. All right, I think I've gotten to everybody here. Oh, we had another troll here, huh? Wow. That's too bad. Demon Catman, thank you for the blessings for Carol and I. We appreciate that so much. That means the world to me. And Carol. And it happened again. I don't know why, but the chat keeps bouncing around here. I have no idea why it's doing that. Doggone it. It keeps going back up to the top of the chat. That's weird. Okay. And Rob52 is here as well. That's awesome. Guys, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up with the chat because on my end it keeps bouncing all over the place. So I appreciate all of our mods here helping us out. I really do appreciate that so much. Anyway, this seismogram I'm showing you is from Camp Sherman over on Mount Rainier. Look at all the earthquakes hitting. Earthquakes and tremors all over the place. Look at this. Literally all over the place. Let's zoom in here to this event that happened here this morning. This here over near the center of the seismogram here. This happened just about 8 minutes after 10 a.m. Actually, I'm sorry, it's on the red line. So this would be about 10:23 this morning. 10:23 this morning. This is what they call a magma churn signal. These sideways rectangles here are called magma churn signals. The magma churn signals are superheated magma, caused by superheated magma. Magma churn signals typically are 23 to 24 lines high. Let's see how many lines this is. Down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines high. This is 46% of real world. What we're seeing on the seismogram is 46% of real world, meaning some seismologists turned down the seismograph. Some seismologists turned down the seismograph. So what we're actually seeing could be large earthquakes, especially this one here on this blue line. This blue line over on the left-hand side is 12:30 this afternoon. So this is 12:37 p.m. this afternoon. This by and of itself appears to be a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. Folks, if this is indeed only showing us less than 50% of real world, this earthquake you see here in the blue here, this is actually a 3.5 earthquake. A 3.5 earthquake here at Mount Rainier. How about this over here? This is another blue line. However, this does not have a dot in the middle of it. This is a steam signal. This means Mount Rainier is putting up steam. Mount Rainier is releasing steam from the magma. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. 6 to 7% of all magma is water. That is why we are seeing steam here at Mount Rainier. These lines off here to the right of that magma churn signal are also steam signals. Mount Rainier is steaming. Anybody living here near Mount Rainier is seeing steam coming from the volcano. Over here to the right-hand side here. Okay? Look at these earthquakes here. Look at these earthquakes here. See this center here? These earthquakes here on the right-hand side here? This happened just after midnight. Midnight over on the left-hand side on the blue line, this is approximately 12:44 a.m. this morning. Tremor activity here. This is a magma ball. A lot of magma coming into the magma churn signal. Again, the seismologist turned down the seismograph. This blue line here, starting over here at 12:30 a.m. this morning. This blue line is very thin. It's not showing us all the magma. Each and every line here is worth 15 minutes. Each and every line on this seismogram represents 15 minutes. The thinness of the line should show us the amount of magma coming into the magma chamber. Because this seismograph is turned down so low, it's not showing much magma, except when we get over here. We have a magma ball over here on the right-hand side. That's indicative of a lot of activity. See these vertical lines going through this magma ball here? These are tremors caused by the magma. Magma entering Mount Rainier under pressure, fracturing rock inside the volcano. That's why we have earthquakes. Just above this to the left-hand side. This is another earthquake here. 3.5 earthquake. 3.5 earthquake. This earthquake here, this happened at about, over on the left-hand side, it would be 12:15. But right here, this is about 12:20, 12:23, 12:24 a.m. this morning. Okay? Earthquakes and tremors hitting all over this place. This is a tremor. This is a tremor here. Over here, this is a tremor here. More tremors. Yes, we're seeing a lot of tremor activity here on this seismogram, but a lot of earthquakes as well. Mount Rainier is shaking. Mount Rainier is shaking. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt, and that's why we're seeing so much activity at Mount Rainier. Let me show you one more seismogram here at Mount Rainier. This is Mount Rainier Emerald Ridge. Look at all the activity here. Incredible, huh? The main seismogram at Mount Rainier at Emerald Ridge doesn't show us anything. It actually shows us photo not available. We had to go to this other seismogram here, HHZ. This is a multi-channel seismograph. This seismogram here actually is showing us magma coming into the magma chamber. See these wiggly lines here? These curvy lines? This is magma coming into the magma chamber that's causing these curvy lines. You're also seeing a lot of earthquakes and tremors here. These vertical lines are all earthquakes and tremors. Mount Rainier is very, very busy. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. Let's go over to Mount St. Helens. I can't wait to show you Mount St. Helens. I really can't. The first one here at Mount St. Helens I want to show you is East Dome Mount St. Helens. Where you saw that one earthquake on the east side of the summit of Mount St. Helens, that's where this came from. Okay? This is the HHE channel of East Dome Mount St. Helens. EDM would be East Dome Mount St. Helens. Okay? The HHE channel is also showing us the magma coming into the volcano. These Kirby lines are showing you active magma coming into Mount St. Helens. Yes, we're also seeing earthquakes here. This is like a 2.0 earthquake here. Down here to the right in the center of the seismogram, this is actually 4:20 a.m. this morning. 4:20 a.m. this morning, we're seeing a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. This is a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Off to the right here. Anytime you see triangles off to the right of the main quake here, this is a secondary wave. A secondary wave. The main quake you see right here, up and down. Okay? You see a secondary wave here. This tells us usually that these earthquakes are larger than they're showing here on the seismogram, because the agencies turn down the seismograms. They turn them down. In this case, this is at least a 2.8, 2.9, maybe even close to a 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Activity at Mount Rainier. Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens. Let's show you another one here at Mount St. Helens. I want to show you September lobe. September lobe seismograph is a spindly-legged apparatus sitting up on top of the dome of Mount St. Helens. Sitting up on top of the great big huge lava rock that's a plug of Mount St. Helens. This spindly-legged seismograph is showing us this. September lobe, BDF. This is the magma coming into the magma chamber. All these wavy lines are showing us magma coming into the magma chamber. There is a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at September lobe at Mount St. Helens. This entire seismograph shows us plenty of magma coming in under pressure into the volcanic chamber at Mount St. Helens. Okay? This does not show us earthquakes, though. It doesn't show us earthquakes. But this one does. The one I want to show you now is a BHZ channel. The seismograph at September lobe is a multi-channel seismograph. We're seeing an earthquake here. This would appear to be a 3.0 earthquake here at Mount St. Helens. Another tremor here. Another tremor down here. Mount St. Helens is active. Mount St. Helens is active. Let's go over to the north side of Mount St. Helens. Studebaker Ridge. Look at this. This is showing a great deal of magma coming into the volcano, right? Absolutely. Look at the earthquakes here. Tremors and earthquakes. 2.6, 2.7 earthquake here. Tremors and earthquakes, 2.0 earthquakes. Smaller ones, tremors. This is a 2.2 earthquake here. The horizontal lines show us a great deal of magma coming into the magma chamber. Magma pulse signals. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. Down here you see thicker lines here as well. More magma coming into Mount St. Helens. Just like over on the HHN, or not the HHN, but the magma channel, the BDF CCO1 seismogram, shows us all of the magma coming in. You're also seeing a great deal of magma on each of these lines. They're called magma pulse signals. The line getting thinner and getting thicker again, and thicker getting into thinner. Magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. Okay? Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt as well. Now, I want to show you Mount Hood. This is over near the southern side, well, on the southern side of Mount St. Helens. This is a Palmer Lift. It's a ski resort. This is a ski lift on the southern side of Mount St. Helens. Look at all the data here. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. The vertical lines are showing tremors here. The vertical lines here on this seismograph are showing tremors. Look at all this. This is after 21:30 last night. 9:30 over here on the left side of the seismograph. Just 4 minutes later here. Look at all this magma coming into the magma chamber. And all these vertical lines are all tremors happening as a result of that magma coming in under pressure into the volcanic chamber, fracturing the rock in the volcano. That's what's going on. That's what's going on here as well. That's what's going on here as well. This is 2200 hours, 10 p.m. last night. You see a thick horizontal line here? It gets thinner here, and then all of a sudden, we have all this seismic energy. Magma fracturing the rock inside the volcanic chamber. That's what's going on here. The same thing down here. The same thing down here after 6 a.m. This black line starts off at 6 a.m. It goes all the way down here, and here you're seeing a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake here. 2.4, 2.5, 2.4, 2.5, 2.0 earthquake here. 2.0, 2.9 are considered to be minor earthquakes. These others are all tremors here. Okay? This is Mount Hood. Good old Mount Hood. Mount Hood is not getting ready to erupt. This is normal activity at Mount Hood. I want to show you Timberline. Timberline is the seismograph that is located at Government Camp on the south side of Mount St. Helens, near the foothills of Mount St. Helens. Or not Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood. The foothills near Mount Hood. Government Camp. This is Timberline. Timberline seismogram. What you're seeing here are vertical lines. There are only a couple vertical lines with dots in the middle of them. These vertical lines without dots are steam signals. These are steam signals. Mount Hood is steaming, guys. Mount Hood is steaming. So is Mount St. Helens, and so is Mount Rainier. It's steaming. Occasionally here you see magma coming in here to the magma chamber. Here as well. Here we're seeing a tiny bit of tremor activity here, caused by the magma coming into the volcano. Mount Hood is steaming. About 2 years ago, there were about 120 earthquakes that showed up at Mount Hood on the southern side of the volcano on a Sunday afternoon. Scientists believe that all that seismic energy that happened that day at Mount Hood was possibly a warning of an earthquake volcanic eruption. There was a lot of earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes. 120 plus earthquakes here on a Sunday afternoon 2 years ago. Scientists thought that Mount St. Helens was going to erupt. they issued a yellow volcanic eruption advisory. Not long after that, things calmed down here at Mount Hood, and they lowered the volcanic risk advisory to green, normal. For hours on Sunday, it was raised to yellow, advisory level for a possible eruption. It did not erupt. Okay? That's Mount Hood. Now, folks, I have quite a few other seismograms I want to show you, but I'm not going there today. I'm going to show you two more. This is Ocean Shores, Washington. This seismogram is showing you Ocean Shores, Washington. A couple years ago, Marfugel visited here. Marfugel and his wife visited here. Marfugel spoke to citizens of this community. Marfugel also spoke to police officers and firefighters. Those people Marfugel talked to did not know anything about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happening. They knew nothing. They knew nothing about emergency preparedness. Very few people even talked about emergency preparedness. They knew nothing about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake that is going to happen here. Ocean Shores, Washington. A lot of the people up and down the entire west coast of North America, Canada and the United States, don't realize what is going to happen. They do not realize the veracity of what's going on. Things are going to happen there. I promise you, the earthquake is going to hit. It's going to be a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. Look at all this activity happening at Ocean Shores. Magma coming into the magma chamber from the ocean. This is not a volcano. This is a town over on the coastline of Washington. The magma here is probably headed for Mount Rainier, coming from underneath the ocean over to Mount Rainier. Look at the earthquakes hitting. This is at least a 2.2 earthquake here. Look at these horizontal lines. This horizontal line here, this horizontal line here, this horizontal line here, this one here, this one here, this one here, this one here, 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 and here. This is trash. These thick horizontal lines are trash. They're called abstract. Someone at the agency put these here. This is not what a normal magma pulse signal looks like. The magma pulse signal looks like this line here, where the magma gets thinner and the magma gets thicker. More and more magma coming into the magma chamber, and then it gets less and less, or thick, or more and more. This is trash. These are abstract. But you can see when magma is coming into the magma chamber. See this thick line here, and it gets thinner here. Here, it all of a sudden gets thicker. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in real life. Just like on this other side, it doesn't all of a sudden get thin. Okay? It doesn't happen that way. These are false data here. These are what they call abstract. Abstract. But you see earthquakes hitting here. Ocean Shores, Washington. Yes, we're getting tremors and minor earthquakes. Tremors and minor earthquakes are happening here. They're going to continue happening, and they're going to get larger. They're going to get larger. Marfugel was there. Let me take you to a tremor map. Tremor map from Canada all the way down here to southern Oregon. Over here in the center of Vancouver Island here. You see a bunch of tremors, don't you? Down here at the southern end of this tremor map, you see a bunch of tremors here. Interesting enough. Down here just west and north of Portland, you see a great many tremors here. And you see a bunch here just west and north of Medford, Oregon. That's a lot of activity. That is a ton of activity, folks. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that's important. Folks, there are 683 tremors here. 683 tremors here on this tremor map. These are called slow slip tremors. They are indicative of subduction. They are indicative of subduction. The Pacific Plate subducting underneath the North American Plate. The Pacific Plate subducting under the North American Plate. This is a lot of information here. The Pacific Plate is taking a deep dive underneath the North American Plate. That is why you see all these earthquakes up and down the fault. Up and down the inland fault here. That's why. There is no doubt in my mind of what's happening here. There is no doubt in my mind of what's happening here. It's an ongoing battle here. It is an ongoing battle here, and it's not going to be won anytime soon. I believe that the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is probably going to happen within the next 5 years. I do not think it's going to take much longer than that. I think it's going to happen within the next 5 years. There's all kinds of proof of it. Tonight I've shown you what's going on. I've been showing you what's going on for a very long time now. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anyone have any questions for me? I know I've talked a lot. I've shown you a lot of information. We now have 83 thumbs up. I appreciate that so much. 83 thumbs up. Does anybody have any questions for me? Cowboy Roy Rogers is here as well. Thank you for being here, Cowboy. We appreciate it. He says he's sent Brian's videos to me, and he will send me the latest one to me when he watches it later tonight. What he's talking about is Earthmaster. Earthmaster lives in Canada. He puts up videos once or twice a day. A lot of good information. The reason he's telling me this is the same reason I'm here showing you all these seismograms, showing you what is going on. Everybody needs to know what's going on. We now have 70 people watching this program. 70 people watching this program. I was hoping we'd have 100 plus. I don't think we've had 100 plus people here all night. I was hoping. This is a very important night. This is very much an important night here. The reason being is we've shown you an awful lot of activity. An awful lot of activity that will mean a lot to you. Hurricane Heather says, Earthmaster lives in Chico. Okay, I was speaking about somebody else. I'm sorry. Thanks, Heather, I appreciate it. Anyway, Things are happening. Things are happening all over the place. Are you ready? Are you ready for a major earthquake in the Pacific Northwest? If not, why not? We've been talking about emergency preparedness on this channel for a long time. We've been talking about earthquakes. We've been talking about having, geomagnetic earth watch is what Arnold Schmidt and I are referring to. Thanks, Roy, I appreciate it. If you're not already prepared for what's going to happen, you need to get that way. And you need to get that way soon. This is going to happen. And it's going to happen whether you are ready for it or not. Yes, I don't expect this earthquake to happen for the next 5 years, but it's going to happen. The pneumatic fault sometime in the next 2 years is going to go. Are you ready for that? Are you really ready for what's going to happen? The pneumatic fault is going to go, and it's going to be an 8.0 earthquake. A major 8.0 earthquake. The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to be an 8.0 to a 10.0 quake. Scientists are saying it's going to be a 9.0 to a 10.0 quake. And that's closer to what the truth is. Are you ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've spoken about tonight? I presented this information to you so you will have a reason to get prepared. Because this is exactly why we need to be prepared. Things are happening. Things are happening. And it's going to affect your life and mine. You need to be prepared. Gary's asking, Ron, are you not tempted to move from where you live? No, not really. Why do I say that? I'm saying that basically because I live over on the Eastern Craton. Yes, we've seen already here on the Eastern Craton 5.0 earthquakes. Northwest of where I live, a year before I got here, there was a 5.1 earthquake. 2 years ago, after I'd been here a year. Here in Morganton, here where I live, just west of where I live, here in Morganton, we had a 4.5 moderate earthquake here. People heard it. People heard it before and during the time it was shaking. People heard the plates going like this. The plate here rubbing against the Atlantic plate. The Atlantic plate and the North American plate rubbing like this. That's why the 4.5 earthquake hit. Am I afraid of it? No. I don't think we're going to have any more than a 5.0 large earthquake here. We've already had one. We had a 5.9 over New Jersey. We are still seeing aftershocks from that. We are still seeing earthquakes and aftershocks from the 4.5 as well. And we've seen aftershocks from the 5.1 just northwest of me. We've seen it, and we'll continue to see it. USGS is not talking about it. Every week I show you earthquakes up and down the Eastern Continental Divide. Every week. 2.5s, 3.0s, 3.5s, and 4.5 earthquakes up and down the entire Eastern Continental Divide. It's happening. The place I fear the worst is over in Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. That is where the major part of that earthquake is going to hit, the pneumatic earthquake. That is where that 8.0, even 9.0 earthquake on the pneumatic fault is going to hit. The primary point in the center of it is Missouri. It's going to happen. All those states surrounding the Mississippi River where the pneumatic fault is are going to be affected by it. West out to Texas, probably all the way north to Minnesota, all the way east over to Ohio, Alabama to the south. It's going to happen. And maybe even more points to the northeast. The pneumatic fault is going to rock the bells in Washington, D.C. The 8.0 to 9.0 earthquake of the pneumatic fault is going to rock church bells in Washington, D.C. That's what happened the last time it went. Okay? Back then, the pneumatic fault had very few people living there. People in cabins, farms and ranches. Now it's hugely populated. Millions of people live up and down the fault. Thousands of people are going to be killed. Thousands of people are going to be injured. There's going to be fires. There's going to be fissures open up. Water mains and gas mains are going to explode. There's not going to be enough water on the ground to put out the fires. The fires that start on either side of the pneumatic fault are going to have to be put out from the air. They probably will not be able to be fought from the ground. There will be hardly any water available because of the eruption oil or eruption gas and the ruptured water mains. Not going to happen. Does anybody have a question here for me? Cowboy Roy Rogers says, Ron, what magnitude do you think may hit Texas along the volcanoes Fault and Oklahoma on the edge of the North American Craton? You guys are going to feel, in that area, you guys are going to feel close to a 7.0 earthquake. You guys are going to feel close to a 7.0 earthquake because that area is close to the fault. That area is going to be close to the fault. And you're going to feel a lot of shaking. Anywhere close to the fault is going to shake like nothing else. It's going to be bad. I'm not painting a pretty picture here. I'm being positive. I'm trying to give you the information you need to protect yourselves, to prepare. Millions of people live in Little Rock, Arkansas. Many people live over in Memphis and Nashville, along the fault zone. Many people live in Kentucky, up into Oklahoma and Ohio, Indiana and Illinois. Indiana and Illinois are the northernmost part of the pneumatic fault going north. You all are going to feel it. You all are going to feel it. And it's not going to be nice. Monier's Wrath says it has to do with resonance and destabilization of the Earth's crust. And that's exactly right. It turns soil, loamy soil, into quicksand by acoustic waveform energy. As the earthquake shakes, it brings up the groundwater to the upper part of the crust. And it turns the upper part of the crust into quicksand. Absolutely. Gary says not that many can handle a 7.0 earthquake. I agree. Not many will be able to. But you need to be prepared. On Ears Rastus, he builds homes for a living. He has to go by building codes. Building codes have improved here in the United States over the years. But I don't know any building, brand new or old, that can withstand a 7.0 earthquake. There are not many buildings that can. Cowboy Roy Rogers is talking about hoping the Canyon Lake Dam and other dams hold up. I agree. Too many people live near riverbeds below the dams. And some of the dams are going to break. Gary says Japan has amazing quake tech for buildings. Japan has to. Japan has to. They're right on the western side of the Pacific Ocean. They have more earthquakes than anybody else. They have to be ready. They have to be ready. Chris Goldfinger, who talked at a summit in San Francisco back in 2019 about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. He was in Japan when the Japanese earthquake hit in 2011. He was there. He saw what happened. The building standards over in Japan are very good. That's the way it happens. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I've talked a lot. Yeah, the new building is, most of the new buildings are cable tension stable. Or they have springs underneath them. Or they have rollers to keep the building from coming down. The building moves like this when it's shaking on rollers. The building doesn't come down. The buildings are built on springs as well. You may have been in a mall, in a large mall, where they have springs underneath the mall. As you walk along, you can also feel the springs under that mall that are bouncing. Okay? They keep the building stable. Munir's Ras says, unfortunately, UBC is very behind on something like Japan. Yes, it is. San Francisco is somewhat ahead of the game, but not really. San Francisco rebuilt the bridges after the Bay Bridge went down. But there are plenty of other bridges around San Francisco and the surrounding area that are going to go down after the Cascadia megathrust hits. That Cascadia megathrust earthquake may be occurring in northern part of off the coast of northern Washington. But it's going to trigger the San Andreas. There's going to be major destruction over in San Francisco and every other town and city up and down the entire fault line into northern Mexico. That's going to happen. Okay, since you guys don't have any more questions right now, actually, stop. Aubrey has a question here. Can you please do a program on how to plan for multiple disasters hitting simultaneously? Yes, I will. In fact, let's talk about that on Friday. Let's talk about that happening on Friday. Hold on, let me make a note here. Okay, I made note of that. Friday you're going to see a presentation on emergency preparedness of multiple disasters happening at the same time. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, stay here for the devotional here. I take devotionals from the scriptures. Most of them are from the scriptures. Today I want to go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 24 and 25. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me." This is talking about the sacrament of the Lord's Supper. The Lord administering the sacrament of the Lord's Supper right before he died. Paul talks extensively about what happened at that Last Supper. Some of the other apostles also mentioned it in their books, in the New Testament. Verse 25. "Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do shew the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord." We must be worthy to take the sacrament of the Lord. We are given the sacrament of the Lord's Supper to remind us of our covenants with God, our covenants with the Savior. We need to be teaching these things to our families. We need to be teaching these things to our families. The sacrament of the Lord's Supper is very important. Very important, because we are making a covenant with the Lord that we're willing to follow his commandments and follow him and make our lives worthy of the Savior. Making our lives worthy of the Savior. I think that's important. But, again, what does he say here? What does Paul talk about here? "Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord." We need to be worthy. We need to set our lives in order so that we are worthy to take the sacrament. We shall be worthy of the Lord. We need to follow the Lord's commandments. If we have not, we need to repent. We need to repent. And then follow the Lord religiously. And then if we still sin, repent again. It's okay to repent, as long as we don't commit the same sin over and over and over. That would be a blasphemy to the Lord. We need to be following the Savior's guidance to us, following the commandments. Okay? I picked these scriptures up randomly because I think we all need to realize what's going on in our lives. We need to set our lives in order. We need to be worthy of returning to our Heavenly Father's kingdom. May God bless us that we'll do that. God bless us that we might prepare for these disasters and emergencies in our lives. That we might be prepared. We might continue to be prepared by following the commandments of the Lord. It all goes hand in hand. You cannot really do one without the other. If we're following the Lord's commandments, we're doing everything to protect our families. And we're sharing this information with everybody we know. It's a beautiful thing. The gospel of Jesus Christ is important. The gospel of Jesus Christ is important to each one of us. Each one of us are literally a child of God. We are a child of God. We have divine heritage. We are all children of God, and we have divine heritage. Sons and daughters of a divine Savior and our Father in heaven. May God bless us. May God bless us that we can indeed be worthy. but we can indeed follow the commandments and we can get prepared for what's happening. It's not just this. It's not just natural and man-made disasters. It gets worse. I wanted to talk about that tonight, but it'll have to wait for another night. We have a lot that's going on in our lives, and it's not going to wait for us. It's going to happen whether or not we are prepared or not. If we're ready, we'll be blessed. If we're not ready, then we're going to suffer. May God bless us. Follow the commandments. Prepared. Be prepared. It's not just a Boy Scout slogan. It's a way of life. It's a way of life. God be with you, folks. God be with you, all of my family members that are here. God be with you and bless and comfort you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side tomorrow. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow evening, sometime after 6 p.m., just like tonight. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. Thank you all for being here. I love you all very much. And the Lord loves you. We'll see you soon. God bless.